All right, so centering. Good morning. I'm just gonna add a little water. Water and speed are your friends at the beginning. And then you're just gonna lock your elbows into your hips. Your arms are on the splash pan and you're just gonna start to squeeze in. And I'm activating all points of my hands. I'm activating my core. That is where my energy is coming from. And my first thought is in and down. So I have that nice, strong attachment to the back. And now I'm gonna start to push the clay inwards, starting at the very bottom with my hands sliding on the wheel. And my thumbs are kind of at the top, but mostly this motion is like pressure in and sliding up. So pressure in, sliding up, and squeezing in. I'm gonna add a little water. I have my cone, and now I'm gonna push it down. So my left hand's gonna cradle at 9 o'clock, and my right hand's gonna come on top. They're connected either with your thumbs or just touching in one way or another. Pressing down. If you need to float off and grab a little more water, go ahead and do that. You can also throw with a loaded sponge, so you can just squeeze anytime you need water. And I kind of like this fist when I'm centering a little bit more clay than I'm used to. All right. So I think I have a little bit more clay than I need, but let's just see how it goes. So I'm just kind of going back from collaring to flattening. And now I'm gonna go ahead and open this up. So make a donut, make a bagel, add a little water, and I'm gonna go ahead and get that base height. So let's just go ahead and check with our needle tool, pushing it in, and then pulling it out with the same hand. I have about 1 inch, so I'm gonna go down even more. Pushing down, and I'm gonna get rid of that pool so I can see what's going on. And that looks good. And now I'm gonna start to widen it. So I like to kind of keep my hands like this and pull my right hand towards myself while kind of pushing down. So I'm gonna open it, and as you can see, this vessel we're making today is kind of like a lidded pouring vessel. And it has a gallery, so we're gonna keep the top portion pretty thick so we can split that. And it's gonna be about, 3 or 4 inches by 3 or 4 inches, and maybe with the spout up to 5 inches. So let's just open this to about 3.5 inches. So I'm just pulling this towards my belly button, and my outside hand is actively kind of pushing against that and keeping that all centered. I'm gonna compress the bottom. I like to do this part with a sponge. It just kind of increases your surface area. So I'm just going from the center to the outside and back. All right, that's nice and compressed. And now I'm gonna bring up the wall. So I usually tend to turn down the wheel at this point. Get rid of all that water out of the bottom. And now working at 3 o'clock, my left hand is on the inside, my right hand's on the outside, and I'm just gonna squeeze in and pull up. And you can even think about it like you're walking up a mountain, right? So instead of just thinking about going up, you're kind of pulling inwards to kind of go against centripetal force, right? Which is wanting you to go outward, right? That's the easy part. So I'm gonna hydrate my walls. My left thumb is gonna hang out on the outside here, and I'm just gonna squeeze everything together. And my right hand is just kind of guiding, but my left thumb is doing all the work. So I'm gonna squeeze in, and walk slowly up the mountain. Glide off, leaving plenty of clay at the top. I'll show you what I mean by splitting the gallery, but you're going to want at least this much clay at the top. So that motion there is mostly just your thumb twisting and coming up. And if you don't like to do that on the first pull and you like traditional way of kind of two hands, feel free to do that. But if you can anchor your hands together in some fashion, that will really help. All right, so all the clay is right here. I'm sure you've all experienced that. So let's try and move that clay up. So all my focus, all my energy is gonna go right here, and I'm gonna squeeze in and lift that clay up and just slowly deposit it up here. I don't need it to be that much taller, but I want that clay to be evenly distributed. I'm going to use a sponge on my right hand, so if that's something you want to experiment with, it's kind of helpful. So my thumb is still wrapped around, and I'm going to squeeze in and push up, being very aggressive at the beginning here. In, breathing in and out. Slow walk in the park. Kind of gliding, or just kind of along for the ride and floating off. So we moved most of that clay upwards. I still have a little bit extra. I'm just gonna use my knife and get rid of that extra clay. So I'm gonna hold my knife like this and just kind of brace my arms together, push down, and then just come up. Grab that clay by sliding your knife underneath. And now we're gonna split the rim. I have a little bit of extra clay, so I'm just gonna do that one more time. Feels a little thick. All right, so before you split the rim, it's kind of important to get a nice centered rim. So I'm gonna compress with these two fingers pushing inwards and my pointer finger pushing down. And then I'm going to kind of make this a little bit, add a little water. You want your tool to be moving through this pretty fluidly. And my gallery is gonna be right here. So I kind of want like a really deep gallery so that lid will hopefully stay on as you pour the gravy. So,
can you tell me what you mean by gallery?
Yes, gallery is this kind of splitting up the lip. So instead of this being whole, you're kind of using your rib, pushing this half down. So it creates like a little stair step for you, for your lid to sit in. All right, just evening everything out, getting rid of some of that slip on the outside, compressing, and there's water on the top, so I'm ready. I love this tool, Mud Tools. It's got that sharp 90-degree angle, so I'm gonna use this. And the most important thing to remember is to breathe on this. So you gotta think you can do it before you do it. So fake it till you make it. I'm gonna use both hands and I'm just gonna kind of hunker down. I'm anchored, my hands are on the splash pan, and I'm just gonna start by pushing and making a little line. And that looks about halfway, so I'm pretty happy with that, and I'm gonna continue to push down. Let's see how it goes. I'm gonna breathe in, pushing down, and breathe out. Breathe in, pushing down, and breathe out. Breathe in and out. And there's your gallery. Breathing is the biggest thing you can do. It sounds so cheesy, but there's your gallery. And if you're struggling with it, you probably need a thicker rim, right? So really set your intention. If you're gonna make this form today, really start with a little more clay than you're used to, maybe. All right, so I have my gallery. I think I'm gonna push that down just a hair more, just because it's allowing me to do that. So I added a little bit more water, and the only thing I'm thinking about besides breathing is keeping my hands centered, right? You're the boss, but if you're not centered, you're gonna wiggle with the pot. So centered, breathe in, breathe out. I just wanted that low down so we have enough room to make a spout. So let's see here. The spout is kind of large, and I'm just gonna start to play around with this. So I'm gonna kind of hold the piece right here as I pull down. And I think, let's see here, just one sec. Sometimes if you have a really big spout like this, it's kind of helpful just to add a little bit of clay to make it a little more pronounced. I'm not sure if I want to do this now or at leather or like a soft leather hard, but let's just try it now. See what happens. So I'm just taking fresh clay from the bag and I'm going to put it right here. Maybe a little bit longer. This is the beauty of clay. This is wet clay. You can do anything with it. You don't have to just throw a cylinder and trim it. You can add some clay. You can make it however you want to make it. So I want a big juicy spout. So I'm just connecting these two pieces of clay. I'm not sweating the small stuff. So whatever this looks like right here, just kind of compress it. And now I'm just kind of compressing it so it's all kind of an even thickness. And then I'm kind of tapering, so kind of tapering the edge a little bit. I'm not going to worry about the seams. Those are going to be easier to clean up when it has a little bit more body. And then let's start to clean it up a little. So just rubbing my finger back and forth with a little water. And now I'm going to hold it like this. And that looks all right. I'll probably sculpt it towards the end of class. So maybe at 11 we'll kind of continue this demo, but let me show you how to measure for the lid. So there's my pouring pitcher, and I'm gonna grab my calipers, and while the wheel is spinning, I'm just gonna take your calipers and measure that. It's a little tricky with the spout, it's kind of like throwing me off. So I'm gonna turn that off. And that's how big I want my lid to be, which will translate on this side. So let me show you that real quick. Oh, okay.
It's always worse in the morning.
Yeah. My throat is just so tickly right now. Sorry, guys. All right. So I've got a very small amount of clay, and I'm gonna make my lid. And when you make lids, flat lids tend to warp pretty quickly, right? So you want to add a little bit of arch or a little bit of volume to them. So let's just center this tiny piece of clay. So I'm just pressing in, pushing down.
Flat lids do what?
They tend to warp. So we're gonna add a little bit of just a little arc to it. So with this piece, I'm gonna throw it upside down. So I have my tiny lid here. Excuse me. My cough drop just ended, I'm so sorry. Thank you for bearing with me. All right, so I'm gonna lift this up a little bit. And this is where I'm gonna kind of make my lid. So just imagine this upside down, and I'm just gonna pretend like I'm throwing a plate or a bowl, right? So it's nice and centered, and I'm just gonna start to squeeze in and pull this lip out. And then go ahead and check with your calipers. I still got a little ways to go. Coming from the center and squeezing in and pulling out. Another helpful tip with lids is if they're on the thinner side, they probably will warp too. Hi, Sam. And so I just tend to make them a little bit beefier, a little bit meatier, you know. This is a little thin. So I'm going to try and grab some of this clay from down here and just widen this just a hair. All right, and flatten it just a little. Let's check our diameter. And that looks spot on. So I'm going to make it a little bit bigger because that's how I like to kind of sand my pots down. I like leather hard, so they're like a really nice fit. And it's kind of annoying when your lid is just a hair too small. So I always err on the side of just a little bit bigger. So just pulling just a little bit more, maybe just flattening it even. And that's good. It's just a hair bigger than this, and that's where I'm gonna leave it. Be sure to wire off your lid and your jar, and then at 11 o'clock, I'll kind of show you how to clean that up a little bit better. So, does anyone have any questions?
When you're at a plate, when do you need to slip and score, and when can you just stick it on there?
Yeah, that is all wet clay, so
Okay.
you don't really need to slip and score.
Okay.
If the clays are different temperatures, definitely slip and score.
Okay.
You probably could have just to, just if that's your practice, but yeah, not necessary when they're both wet.
Okay.
Fresh out
The
of the
same
bag.
wetness.
Yeah.
Because I've missed the window before, and then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or I guess
So-
same temperature isn't the right thing to say because they can both be leather hard, but you
Yeah.
definitely still have to slip and score. So if
Okay.
it's wet out of the bag clay, you don't need to slip and score. Yeah.
Even for handles? Like a cup handle?
Yeah. If
As long as
you're,
it's like the same wetness, basically.
yeah, if they're fresh out of the bag.
Okay.
Yep. For sure.
They said many
Cool.
bowls that meant to be mugs because I missed them.